So today it's Monday and I've not got anything booked in, so I thought if this takes all day, this is going to take all day. I would never normally take on a set we've never seen before. The business model here is to have one of every model which is available for the UK market. This is a model on our wanted list, but I think we missed the boat when they were around new, and I'm not really prepared to buy a second-hand one unless it's not going to have been messed with. And the trouble with walkie-talkies is they get dropped. Well, customers bought this and he sent it straight to me for optimisation. He's also downloaded the service manual and he sent me a PDF of that, and so I've printed it out, so we've got the service manual. I don't know anything about these, and so let's open it up and see, what happens if it's been messed with. What happens if it's broken? There's lots of what happens, aren't there? Because I've never seen one. So it's 9-volt radio, and it's supposed to do 4 watts. So that's the first thing and it's 0.5 microvolts or 20 dB, is it? Right, well, we'll soon see about that. I'll just remove the box. It comes with a vehicle adapter, so at least we're going to be able to connect it up to the system here. Right, and that's all it has come with. So remember, that's the customer's box. It's an Amazon box. And make sure there's no batteries in it, because I'd hate to power it up and then find there's batteries. I'm going to probably have to read the service manual how to even open the battery box up. Good, it's got no batteries in it. It's got a switch there. N or what? Changes glasses. Oh, N or A. So it'll NI. Yes. So you switch between whether you're using rechargeables. So it's Ni with nickel metal hydride, and AL for alkaline. So that's how it manages to do it on 9 volts. So we better see how this thing works. I don't want putting that cover back on because we're bound to have to take it apart. So I think, like some of these other sets, we're going to do the test through this. So that clamps onto the bottom. Connect that to the test set, and I'll put the cap back in the customer's box, otherwise we'll lose it. And we'll plug that into our handy cigarette lighter socket, and we'll see whether it switches on. And it does. So it was last on UK 18, so there we go. Channel 20, 277912.5. So let's have a look at what power it's doing. So I'll put the camera on so you can see that. I'm on the 3 watt scale, so full scale deflection is 3 watts. And let's press transmit and see what happens. So it does 1.7 watts. Out of interest, I wonder what it does out of the top socket. Now I need a BNC adapter, so I'm going to have to pause the video and go and get a BNC adapter. Right, so we're now in the BNC socket. Let's see what happens now. Oh, it's 0.9 of a watt, so we'll carry on using the umbilical cord, shall we say. Okay. I think we'd better look at the promised sensitivity. Right, let's set that up. Okay, so I've got signal generator on frequency, and let's see what the sensitivity is. Well, I wouldn't say it's what they say. Right. So we need to plug our instruments into hopefully an extension speaker socket, which it has. Because there's 12 and there's 8, so we're in between the two. But we can just back it down a fraction more. It's doing 0.75 for 10 decibel cyanide, which isn't particularly good. There you go. That's what we're presented with. Now the customer hasn't said whether he wants this to work on 80 channels or whether he wants to work on priority as UK 40, and I'm sure he already knows, if he's watched our videos, that we do it for UK 40 unless otherwise stated. So I'm going to do it for UK 40, but of course the others will still work, but not as priority. So let's have a thing. First, got an S meter for what it's worth. Right, we'll better start by opening up the radio. Oh, let's see it. Look at deviation. We'll just do a whistle test with that. Just pop the camera back down. .5. Yeah, so it's quiet and very low power. I think I ought to just make some notes of this because I'm hoping we can improve it for him, otherwise he's wasted his time and money sending it in. I say, when we've not seen one before, we've got no idea what they're capable of, so it's always a worry. So Intek H520 plus, and everywhere I've looked in the UK, which you go do a Google search and it says, for example, Radio World came up. When I actually went into it, it said sold out, so I couldn't go and buy one anyway. So we'll do the yeah, we'll do a before and after thing again. And so we've got, I want to do the cyanide at 20 dB, cyanide at 12 dB, and somebody says that when I say cyanide, it auto-translate puts it as cyanide. So the manufacturer says 0.5, and this is coming at 0.75. So that's lying, isn't it? So TX power, just recheck it, and it's 1.7 watts. TX deviation We do the whistle one and it's a peak. Whoops, wrong button. Wallow. I can actually just get 2 out of that. So we just want it up a bit. Right, let's set about seeing what the service manual has to say for itself. Okay, so it's all there. Let's have a... Am I going to have to do a... It's quite a comprehensive power supply. It tells you how test equipment is set up as well, which is always handy. So it looks like there's 2 boards. It looks like there's the front board's kind of the logic board, and the back board's the RF kind of board. So we'll have to follow this. So it says for transmit, connect a dummy load and an RF meter to the extension antenna jack on the socket, which of course we've done, and that's figure 3. So it's transformer 203, transformer 204. So 203. It's 103, 102. .204 is there. 203, 204. Right. I'll put my rule in that page because we're obviously going to go backwards and forwards. Does it tell you how to open it up? No. When I was doing a Maxon course in the 1990s, the PM150 was new out. I said, what's the recommended tool to open the case? He says, go to Woolworths and buy the biggest screwdriver you can get. Well, I don't think we'll do that on this. I'll pause the video while we open it up. Okay, so the next thing is you can't put the power adapter on when the radio is in bits. So I've had to finally renew those rather worn out crocodile clips off my bench, the ones I always like shorting together, except when it's a customer's radio when we'll behave. And so I've set the power supply for the 9 volts as required there. So crocodile clips and 9 volts. See, there's a built-in voltage regulator inside there, so that turns your 12 into 9. So it's a nicely made radio. You know, it's absolutely of the professional quality you'd expect normally from a business radio. Looks like there's a CTCSS board lurking up there. Without looking at the manual, that's what I would guess. So we've set it for alkaline, and we're going to apply 9 volts to the battery terminals, and hopefully the radio will power up. I hate having to do it like this, but this is how it is when the radio doesn't power up through its adapter when in bits. Right, so we'll switch back on. And then discover the positive clips come off. There we go. and I'll just check what power we're doing now, and it's doing about 2.7 watts when powered internally on 9 volts. So, as the manual said, we need to adjust that and that. So this is fun, isn't it? So I'm going to have to do this left-handed. So we'll press transmit. And that's more or less peak as it was. And that was peak as it was. So we'll pause the video and see what the next stage is in the service manual. So it doesn't actually say in the manual, but I needed to trim the frequency. It was a bit low and it dropped low with age. So it's the red trimmer capacitor just down there. Just zoom in a bit on that. Wrong camera. The crystal trimmer is just there using the ceramic tool. So if we now move the other camera onto the frequency counter, we see it's 27, just slightly high of 27.79125, 27.79128. So I say they drop with age, so the sensible thing to do is always to set them when they come for service that little tiny bit above. It was well within spec. It was 79121. So, you know, it's only going to drop further. I mean, a lot of sets which are now 30 odd years old, they're still in spec even when we're having to pull them up. So they don't drift off that far on the whole. So, that's done the next thing. Then it says adjust the power. And that is RV501. So, RV501, we'll just look at the... Yeah, it says check the frequency, but it doesn't say what to do if it's not right. So, you know, there's always something that you've got to read between the lines. 501 is there. 501. So we'll stay on the 3 watt range for now. And now we'll move over to the 30 watt range. So I'm now looking, that's 5 watts. So that would be, oh, I'm showing you a meter which I'm not showing you on here. So we've got through the 3 watt range, and so now we're going over to the 30 watt range on this test set. So that's 5 watts, so that would be 4 watts, that would be 3 watts. The reason this, I mean, this is a business radio test set, and UK business radio is 25 watts, and that's why it's a 30 watt range. If you think, what a strange range, you know, it is a business radio test set. So I'll just see what we can bring that up to safely. It won't quite do 4 watts. I'm not going to take it to full power, and I'm just going to check that these two are still optimum. Trouble is, I'm pressing on the keypad whilst pressing PTT. See if I can just bring those up. So through that vehicle adapter, it's probably doing 4 watts. We'll check that later. Don't, you know, what can you do? All I can do is to turn it up to the best we can, without killing the set. So it's doing about 3.4 watts, which is a jolly sight better than what it came in doing. So now we need to look at deviation. Does it tell us about deviation? No, it moves on to receive. No, it doesn't tell you about deviation at all. That's the VCO, which we don't need to touch. No, I'll look at the circuit diagram and see where the deviation control is. Okay, so I managed to find it. 701 is just to the left of that switch next to the crystal trimmer, and that should be the FM deviation. So we'll somehow get our little test oscillator underneath the radio. And turn that up slightly. And then do a whistle test. This is not easy. Wallow. Well, that's 2.2. I'll just go back to channel 20 because he's managed to change channel, not surprisingly. Wallow. Yep, that's fine. Well, I think that's covered the transmit, hasn't it? Has it got a power meter? It means nothing if it has. Power's going on and off. You know, which one's loose? Well, it says 4. I don't think there's any way of adjusting that. I can't see. There's no mention in the manual, and there's no mention of other things in the manual. Okay, so now we'll go over to that receiver, because it wasn't that brilliant, to be honest. It certainly didn't say what the manufacturer said. So we'll set it up for channel 20, which we've already done. Yep. We'll put the extension speaker back in. Oh, it's jackboard, is it? That's what it is at the back. I thought it was CTCSS. Let's see what the manual says now. So I'll move the camera 2 over to the oscilloscope. There's probably a detector wants adjusting. Wrong camera. We'll set the signal generator to S9. So I would suspect there may be a different technique, but there may be a detector coil as well. So we'll see whether it's 101 or 102. Just look at that circuit diagram. It's very comprehensive, but it doesn't tell you what we actually need to know. Right, so receive T101, T102, maximum on voltmeter. We'll tread carefully on those, and then it may, because these may not be what I think they are. Well, that made a difference. I'll just go over to the synod meter and we'll look at it that way. That's made a considerable difference, actually. Just for the record, it's now reading, and remember the set's opened up, it's now reading 0.3 of a microvolt for 10 decibel cyanide. So that's come on a long way from 0.75. Squelch. And it's RV101. So we'll turn the squelch to full. And we'll move the signal generator now. May as well turn that off. To 100 microvolts. And it comes in at 100 microvolts. That's exactly where it wants to be. Now, had that needed adjusting, and it doesn't, it's not often I say that. Let's just see where it is. So RV101 is up there. So it's the preset between the two controls is the preset squelch. As it happens, it's spot on. Then they want you to adjust auto squelch, which is 103. So we'll carry on with manual squelch and just see how sensitive it is. So I've switched the signal generator off. We'll now turn the squelch down and set it to threshold. Switch the signal generator back on, which is parked at 0.3 of a microvolt. And it's come straight in. And it drops off, right off the clock, 0.06 of a microvolt. Coming in at just over 0.1, so sensitivity is certainly there. So we'll switch it to auto position, which I don't think is auto at all, it's just preset. And let's see what it's supposed to be. They want you to have they want it at 1 microvolt for auto, and it is. It's exactly where it is. It's as it says on the tin. And it's RV103 if we needed to set that. So we'll just check where that is. RV103 is the second one. There's 2 presets. 102, 103. So it's the left one of those 2 is preset squelch or auto squelch. And that's all they have in the setting up. That's all you get. Now it has an S meter, which probably isn't adjustable. It certainly doesn't say it is. But we already checked that, didn't we? And it says S9 for 100 microvolts, so that is correct. Well, I'm astonished at how much more we've got out of receive there, so that's and of course transmit. Mind you, it'll eat the batteries quicker, won't it? I think we'll see whether does this set do AM. Just in case he wants to use it on AM, I may as well just check it. I say I haven't got any instructions from him, so I'm just kind of guessing. If it was our set, we'd leave it at that point. That would be done. Wrong button. So I'll turn the volume down so it doesn't annoy everybody. So it looks like you can set it for 0.1 watt, 1 watt, or 4 watts. I'm interested to see what it does at 1 watt on our test set. I'll tell you what, it does 0.98 of a watt. Well, that's spot on. That's really handy. I didn't say I could get back to it though, did I? Alright, see what it does at 0.1 of a watt. It does, on our test set, 100 and what? That's 3. It actually does 200 milliwatts on our test set. And back to 4 watts. It's doing about 3.6. Okay, so the plan was to take it into AM if it does it. Let's change channel, see whether it wraps round. No. I think we'd better put it back together before playing with it further. Now, I don't know how you set it to do AM if it does that. Safest thing is to put it back together. So we're not playing with the set in bits. But it's certainly working very well now on UK. I don't think I could put it back together though, did I? So the longer screws are in the top, and the shorter screws are in the bottom. And I must remember I've got it set to alkaline at the moment. It came set on nickel metal hydride. But I still need to buy one of these, don't I? Because I want to do some field tests where we go out and we see, you know, what it's like around Scratchy Corner and that. I can't, you know, like borrow this customer's set for weeks while it's a nice day for us to do that. So we still need to buy one. So I'll leave the back off, but we'll go back to the vehicle adapter. Now these results may be different once it's gone through the umbilical cord. So back to power supply on 13.8 volts. And we'll now press transmit. What was that? Oh, we've got it's now I've turned the power up. It's limiting. It's tripping the power supply. So I'll just bring that up a bit. Yeah, it was set to 1.2 amps. I've just moved it to 1.5 amps. Yeah, so on the vehicle adapter it's showing about 2.8 watts. I think I'm going to have to download, I'll see if I can download an instruction book for this, and so I'll pause the video and we'll see if we can do that. It came in at 1.7 watts. Okay, so fast forward about 45 minutes, I've downloaded a copy of the instruction manual and I printed it out A4, and I made a wonderful boo-boo whilst printing it out. I forgot to tell the printer to do it double-sided, so when the printer asked for some more paper I thought, well, that's strange, we're about 60 sheets in there. But there we have it. We now have a copy of the instructions, so we'll see how to program it, as in for the country. I'll make sure, of course, we put it back. I said I've missed the boat on these. I think they're about 2012. So it says it comes factory set on CE. So what have we got? It's going to tell us somewhere. Okay, so the bands it does. So if we wanted to do, because since 2014 we're allowed to use 4 watts on AM as well, so we'd have to tell it to be in E1 mode to do that. Otherwise we're going to end up with 1 watt of AM. So we need to reset it for E1. We'll then do CPT only. So switch off the radio. Press the menu button, that's the big one, while switching on the radio. And that's the one we want. How handy. Press up and down keys and then menu button to confirm. Oh, that was easy because it was the default one. Okay, so we'll now switch to, oh, how do we switch to AM? Right, back to the instruction book. Yeah. So antenna, display. AM/FM button is AF. Okay. There we are. So we'll put it to channel 20. We'll have to reset the test equipment in a moment. So we'll move the test instrument I'll move the camera onto the test instrument. There we go. So we're on 20 CPT now, and let's see what it's doing on transmit. It's usually going to be less. It's 2.5, 2.6, something like that. They often do less on AM because of the power that the modulator takes, so it like doubles the current consumption. So let's see what the AM modulation is. Quick reset. Wallow. Wallow. It's about 70% as a peak. Oh, good. Well, that's that tested, so it does work. So now we'll switch it back to UK. So menu, switch on, and pop it up to UK. There we go. Good. Right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll put it on an aerial instead of the test instrument. So switch that all off. And we'll do an on-the-air test where we use this as a base station, but we won't be able to do a field test because it's not our radio. But we'll buy one in eventually. It's been on the list for some time. It's just not one's not come up. Well, Nana Roger. It's one of these which is quite slow to come onto channel. Showing plenty of interference. We seem to be getting that these days. Turn the squelch down a fraction. Right, well, I'll leave that on all day, chuntering to itself. So yeah, that's it's another of these handy little useful size sets. I would like to know what we would get on a field test, because some of these, I think we managed to get 4 miles out of one, didn't we? But they're not like the range with the big aerials, like with the realistic 1001 and the Binatone long range of 40 and that from yesteryear. So we can't expect that. And people say to me, "What's the best handheld to get?" So I said, "Well, by all means, get a new set." Something like this, which you won't be able to get, otherwise we'd have bought one. But there's the, what did we test recently? The TTI H100, you know, and that worked great. And we tested another one as well this year, and we did field test. But if you want really, really long range, it's back to the big sets of the 1980s with the 1.5 metre telescopic aerials. We've had 14 miles out of those on a good terrain test in the past. We haven't done good terrain tests on these modern sets because we're not set up for that at the moment. Still equipping a van as a mobile Radio Shack to do that, but we'll be probably addressing that next summer. So yeah, I mean, that looks on the face of it, it looks like it's a nice radio. Oh yeah, is it picking interference up from all over the place? What's that about? Okay, that's what it does. So I need to set that back to, before we send it back to customer, set that back to where he had it at nickel metal hydride. And that's why there aren't different battery spaces. If you remember, some radios would have 8 spaces for throwaway batteries and 10 spaces for rechargeable batteries, so the voltage remained at 12. So 12 volt adapter that way, 9 volt as a radio. We've got 3.6 watts of absolute peak when it was on the power supply here. So that's what you'd get on batteries, you know, when they're freshly charged with new batteries. We'll do 3.6 watts, which is a damn sight better than when it came in at 1.7 watts. Mr. Chippy. So thank you for watching the Intek H520 Plus.